I'm tired of seeing good people go to prison. You're a good person, right? You don't want to go to prison, do you? Well, the government quietly created a new reporting requirement for all companies. And if you don't file this report, then you face 2 years in prison, a $10,000 fine, and even daily fines of $500 per day. When does this new law go into effect? Well, not until January 1st of 2024. Wait, under this new law, the Corporate Transparency Act, the government demands answers to some very invasive questions about the leadership of nearly all formed businesses in the United States. This means no more private companies. This is huge, but nobody is talking about it. If you're at risk, then it might not be long until you hear a knock at the door. If you own or control at least 25% of a business, or if you just exercise substantial control over a business, then you're at risk if you don't file this new Beneficial Ownership Information Report, also known as a BOI report. If your company is a corporation, a limited liability company, or was otherwise created in the United States by filing a document with a Secretary of State or any similar office under the law of a state or Indian tribe, then you are at risk. But it isn't just domestic companies. If your company is a foreign company registered to do business in any U.S. state or Indian tribe, then you are also at risk. There's one caveat here. There is a short list of industries who are exempt from having to file this invasive BOI report, including publicly traded companies, nonprofits, and certain large operating companies. So, if your business is one of these, then you're safe, for now. If your business isn't one of these industries, then the clock is already ticking. When you must file this new report, which we'll cover in depth in a minute, depends on when you started your company. If your company was in existence on December 31st of 2023, then you have until January 1st of 2025 to file this invasive BOI report. If your company was formed in the year 2024, then you have 90 days to file this BOI report. But if your company is formed on January 1st of 2025 or later, then you have just 30 days to file this BOI report. Also, and here's the tricky part that many people are missing. If you have already filed your BOI report, but your reported information has changed, then you also only have 30 days to update the government. With all of that in mind, let's discuss what actually goes into this invasive BOI report. Your BOI report must be filed with an agency called FinCEN. That's the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. This Bureau of Nerds under the U.S. Department of Treasury actually included binary code in their logo that spells FinCEN. When preparing this report for your company, you need to have copies of the passports or state-issued driver's licenses for each person who owns or controls at least 25% of the business, or who exercises substantial control over the business. Determining everyone who has at least 25% ownership interest is easy to identify, but substantial control is kind of vague. Basically, whoever has the greatest authority over strategic management of the company should be included on this report. This will likely be your president or CEO. You need copies of their driver's licenses or passports because you actually have to submit these copies to the government along with the BOI report. You'll also need to include their residence address, date of birth, and identification number. But wait, there's more. Even the person completing the application, like your secretary, treasurer, or HR professional, must include all of that same information and copy of driver's license or passport along with the company's EIN, tax ID, and state of first formation. Because the employees who have to fill out this information do not want to provide their private information to the government, that right there is one of the major reasons that companies are outsourcing this filing. If you choose to file this document on your own, then FinCEN estimates that it will take you somewhere between 1.5 to 10.8 hours. Yeah, they really nailed that time down, didn't they? However, that includes the time necessary to read the law, understand it, gather the information, and then complete the BOI report. The good news, though, is that there is no filing fee to submit this BOI report. The bad news, though, is that not all companies want to spend 1.5 to 10.8 hours reading the law and completing the BOI report, which is why they're outsourcing it. I obviously don't mind them outsourcing, since we've been getting calls from companies all over to file their reports. I've heard that some law firms are charging $500 to complete this BOI report, which is insane to me since we're only charging $100. and LegalZoom is charging $149.99. If you're looking to outsource this headache too, you should look for someone charging between $100 to $200 tops. And since this is not state specific, you companies in big cities should look to law firms outside of the Metroplex so you don't get overcharged. Regardless of whether you choose to tackle this monster on your own or hire someone else to do it, the most important thing for you to know is that it must be done. It is a travesty that the government pushed out this new law without warning anyone, and it's going to be a tragedy when small business owners start getting jailed for not following this new law. Meanwhile, the government is going to sit back and mock you by saying ignorance of the law is not a defense.